I reserve technical jobs like that, reserved for Liberians, unless no qualified Liberians. The issue here is when I ask the minister, why you pay 45 Liberians operating the same truck, the same equipment, working on the same work time? Why you paying the Liberians 600 and you paying the non-Liberians? But I need to tell my colleague. Thank you. Why you paying the Liberians 600 for operating the technical truck, and you paying the non-Liberian 3,000 for operating the same technical truck? I thought at the same scale. Why? Why you even employ more foreign drivers than Liberians? The argument was they couldn't find qualified Liberians to operate the kind of equipment. Which makes sense to me. But if you find some Liberian qualified, like the non-Liberian, why are you paying the Liberian 600 a month and paying the non-Liberian 3,000? This is one of the labor issue. The work permit issue, and let me defeat the argument that 10,000 work permit is insignificant and inconsequential when compared to the population of 5.2 million. That argument is faint, lazy, it will never be debated. Because when you talk about employment, you don't talk about your population altogether. Because in that population, there are plenty there below 18 now in the employment category. You don't call that out. You talk about the employment, the employable population. If you take out the employable population, 10,000 in the private sector, they're not small thing. They're paying $200, $400, $1,000, $5,000. That's not small thing. The labor minister, but I go to the distinguished colleagues, are appealing to the chairman of the labor committee. We must push this thing so that it will push for 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 jobs for our people in the private sector. Just imagine a plenty of people were employing grand dinner. They will talk about request will reduce on you. Yeah. They see what we must do. They see where across. We must do our work. The Senate must take a deliberate decision to them on the issue. The Senate must take a deliberate decision today on this issue. We will not, and let me repeat, we will not pass traffic law because the executive is not implementing the traffic law. When there's traffic, the public say, your lawmaker, what you're doing. We shouldn't have a way. But the executive is not doing his work. It comes back to us. When you want lawmaker, you get up for your car, you say you want to be good citizens to help direct the traffic, say, lawmaker and all go direct traffic. He know a function. What we will do? We create avenue for our people to get jobs. Then the executive give the job to non-Liberians. Then Liberians asking us, why are you doing the good job? They will say that you want to defend the minister. It shouldn't be.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Folks, he's on Plenary television.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem, and thank you to the chair and members of the Labor Committee. I think this is a full report. I only wanted to make a comment on the proposal for the amount, the threshold that the committee is proposing. I think there's a need to look at the detailed report submitted and identify those positions that are being occupied by non-Liberians that should otherwise be occupied by Liberians, and come up with that number based on the actual statistics and not just arbitrarily recommending a certain amount. It may be more than 7,000, who knows? But we should go through the documents and identify that, because I share some of the sentiments that Senator Dillon expressed. We cannot have a country that people are still looking for jobs, and there are jobs that Liberians can do, and those jobs are not given to Liberians. Because when you look at the list, you see a lot of places. Even financial managers. It's not like in the systems where we have to bring other nationalities to be controllers here. We have universities that are producing graduates every year. Where do they get jobs if they didn't get it from the private sector? That's why the government is so bright. You go to institutions, they are all starved because there are no job opportunities in these concession areas. So I think in order to address that, we have to take this seriously. Even after this debate, there should be, the committee should go back and look at the statistics provided and identify those jobs that Liberians should have. And then we engage the executive to make sure that it is implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chair. Senator Chair.
Go ahead. Protocol. Thank you. But it's not difficult to know the depth of this problem. If you don't have to even go to the concessions to know how serious this problem is. Just go to our stores, the supermarkets, and see what's happening there. Some foreigners are in this country only to stand before or over our cashiers. Only to stand over them. That's the work they are doing. That's what we brought them for. That's what we give them web-based for. If you go further in the stores, supermarkets, the people that you see that do the accounting work, they say 99% of them are Asians. My colleague just said that there was a time in this country who had to import labor, skilled labor from neighboring countries. I think that's why in the past, a long time ago, we had so many Ghanaians and Sierra Leoneans, what have you. But even secretaries, we didn't have schools, we our secretary a long time ago. Who keep us, we didn't have. But we bring people from outside. Yes, understandably. But later on, as a country, we decided to address that problem. And so we have these institutions in our country training our people. Why shouldn't they work? Why should they be sacrificed for foreign labor? I don't understand that. The rationale for bringing in foreign labor is only to make up for the deficit for local labor in terms of skills. If the skills are not available, we don't have, yes, indeed. The industry have to run, the commercial entities have to do business, they have to work. So these people are needed. But if we have them, and I say have them in abundance, why do we need these people? Why do we deprive our own people of work and prioritize foreigners? No country does that. No other country does that but Liberia. We open the floodgates, allow these people to come, whatever reason, they're here. Then the minister comes and tells us, oh, you know, I had a budget quota to meet, so I have to do that. That minister should have even told LRA that I have an obligation to the Liberian people. Our people don't have jobs. So if I have to issue a work permit just to generate revenue, then I'm doing this service to our people. It's a service to our people. What is a work permit? Somebody just say, yeah, now what it is, $1,000. Yes, Gonglu. Are you in the private sector then? Gonglu did that. And that was the reason. You wanted to make it difficult for them to get a work permit. Because yeah, if you bring in just somebody to constant over our people, and you want to pay $1,000, then you think that you have a second thought. But it means nothing to the people right now. It means nothing to them. It's not deterrence. They are bringing them. It's not deterrent whatsoever. And what is that? What is a work permit fee compared to an employment $1,000. Even the Liberian man is there, Liberian woman is there, making $200 times 12. How much is that? Is that not over $1,000? It's about $1,000. Then that Liberian man is going to pay taxes. That Liberian man is going to use that money to support his family, including sending his children to school. By employing that Liberian, you have also reduced unemployment. Somebody just said the reason why our public institutions are overcrowded with people is because they can't find work outside of government. No employment. But we can find work for foreigners. We have a lot of work in this country for foreigners, so they come. So they come and take the work from our people. Is that what we should sit here and debate and talk about? We should talk to them, and then LRA should meet and discuss about what kind of quota. No quota. We should scrap that altogether and tell the Minister of Labor that the purpose for which the whole work permit thing was instituted was to ensure that we do not have the influx of foreign people in our labor sector. It should serve as a deterrent. But since it means nothing, even if you get up to $5,000, they will still come. Minister of Labor gave jobs to Liberians because that's what the law says. You got Liberianization policy. Give law to Liberians only where the skill is not available. If the skill is here, deny them. It's got nothing to do with revenue. Absolutely nothing. They should have nothing to do with that. It's bad. It makes us to look bad. I feel bad myself when I go around. Sometimes one day I'll fuss with a guy in the supermarket. I say, brother man, we need to stand over our people. We need to stand over the cashier and watch over them. That's all you bring there for. Nobody else can do that. Are you fussing with a guy at there's a new place that open in Marshall? I'm fussing with a guy. The two Indians there. They are doing all the recording, all the this, all the that. Is that what that Liberian can do? For God's sake, man. Where are we going as a country? Where are we going? Let us tell them. Let them need to debate this over and over. Let instruct or direct the Minister of Labor. The helper. Only those jobs that Liberian cannot do, you should get out to foreigners. Thank you. Now close the honor.
Senator Brown. Follow by Senator Tupu.
Thank you, Brutem. I agree that it is time we bring this discussion to an end. I agree with previous speakers that the way we do business is hurting our people. I use the word we because I know that this legislature, including the Senate, we are to blame. Also, it's not just the Ministry of Labor. In performing, colleagues, in performing our constitutional responsibility to collect revenue, to pass the budget, LRA can bring draft budgets. The budget has two sides, the revenue and the expenditure. We first raise the revenue. LRA can say, Ministry of Labor, 5 million. Fire service, this. Immigration service, this. Then as legislature, the joint committee, Senate and representatives, we meet jointly or sometimes individually to assess the revenue capacity of some of the agencies. Pro-tem colleagues, if we cannot get the revenue that we need, I'm telling you, what we do, I'm part of the ways of me. Then we say, no, we have to increase the assessment that LRA did. So let's assume LRA said, labor 5 million. Then we say no, because we cannot balance our budget. Increase it. Increase it. We are to blame as well. We are to blame. It is our constitutional responsibility to pass budget. We put in a budget that Ministry of Labor will collect this month, this amount. Pro-tem, there is a direct, a clear correlation.
Mutual correlation.
Between the number of certificates or permits that you issue with the amount of revenue you're supposed to generate. You listen to the minister. I mean, we brought him here several times. I kept quiet. Firstly, he had 7,000 he was dealing with. But the previous budget, we assessed him more. So he had to add additional 2,000 persons. Where did he get it from? That's what I'm saying. We are contributing to that. We're telling him to bring money. Where does the Ministry of Labor get money from? The main revenue part from the Labor Ministry is work permit. Program, let me tell you something. Whether we like it or not, we have to face the facts. We have turned, that's legislature and the executive, we have turned certain technical ministries, agencies into revenue generating agencies, which should not be. The Ministry of Labor regulates labor matters in this country. But over the years, we turned that ministry into a revenue agency. Because LPRC, NPA, and some of the revenue generating agencies do not want to pay revenue. They don't want to pay revenue. Liberian Immigration Services, LIS, we turn that institution into another revenue agency. Instead of telling the Liberian Immigration Services, go and mind our borders. Go and mind our borders. We're telling them every year, bring this amount, bring this amount. We keep increasing the amount. As a result, pro-tem, we have thousands of Burkinabes that have invaded the Southeast. Fire service. What money does fire service have to contribute to our budget? Every year we keep assessing them. Fire service, you must produce it. As a result, fire service set up roadblocks, harassing drivers to collect revenue. Why should we do that?
So what happened to the ministry when you're not in compliance?
So, pro-tem,
yeah, when you're not in compliance.
I do agree with the issue that has been raised, but it has been flagged now. We have come to the grim reality that the methodology that will be used to collect revenue seems to be flawed. We have a reassessment of our own methods. So these instructions will go to the chairman on Ways and Means and Finance. It should come to us. Now these people tell us that we are giving instructions to make sure you pass. In the budget, we always have budget notes.
No, different issue.
No. Pro-tem, there's a direct correlation. Pro-tem, they are direct correlation. That is direct, pro-tem. You cannot divide them. You cannot. Let's tell the chairman. Whatever amount that you charge the Ministry of Labor, the Immigration Services, the fire services, make sure they do not undermine the core functions of your agency. We need to do that. That's why we have budget notes. But we give these people quotas and leave them to their own discretions. bring 8 million, 10 million. We do not tell them we do not sell any benchmarks. So that man want to bring money to meet up with the quota. Look in the budget. We always praise labor. We always praise immigrations. These people performed in terms of revenue collections. But on the field, there are problems. There are problems. So we, the legislature, the Senate, that have raised this issue, we have to have a re-evaluation of our methodology of collecting revenues. We have to. That's the instructions put them. As our leader, that's the instructions you pass on to the Westminster Finance. And not the Labor Minister.
Before I pass on our instructions,
yes, ma'am.
In an argument, you want to hear from the person. The Labor Ministry was charging $250 per work permit. Then it went up to $1,000, right? Yeah, to $450 to $1,000. So that was innovation.
Right.
They were trying to discourage foreigners from getting jobs and also trying to meet their revenue targets.
Now, why you think, but others would think you were giving them an opportunity to raise more money? No. It depends on the argument, you see.
When ministers are not in compliance when it comes to raising money, what do we do to them? Ministers come and justify why we raise money. They come and justify. They come and justify so the minister will not have to say I have to raise money because I don't want to be so poor.
So
you can justify that. What we're doing right now to make sure that jobs are belong to Liberians, go to Liberians.
Right.
Yeah, whatever way we can find out to do the
Right.
budget, get separate, not the Labor Minister, when it comes to raising their money, but not to compromise the job for Liberians.
Right. That's what we say. You are right. But what I'm saying, you cannot exalt the legislature.
So that is why the issue on the floor, the issue on the floor is got the job back for Liberians.
Yeah, so we have to stick to that, but you have to put it into context. The discussion have to be in context. Why are these people collecting revenue uncontrollably? It's because we keep giving them quota.
They don't have to meet their quota.
So next time go to the revenue hearing. Go to the revenue hearing. So the issue is nobody's asking. Let me conclude. Thank you. So my issue, the issue raised by Senator Dillon and other senators concerning the work permit is genuine. It's critical. It's critical. We need to address it collectively. A pushing blame will not solve the problem. We are at fault as well. All of the money this man is collecting, check the budget book. It is there. Check the budget book. All the money the Ministry of Labor is raising is in the budget, it's in the consolidated account. So we should have another real look of how we collect our revenue. That's what I'm saying. But we cannot as legislature, we cannot be hypocritical to say this person alone is a cause. No, we are to blame as well. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Pro Tem, and thanks to Senator Dillon for this very sensitive issue. Protem, like others have said, there's a positive correlation between the issuance of more work permits and the generation of revenue. Very positive. As such, we have to be very decisive here. Very, very decisive as we move on to the next budget year. As the chairman rightly stated, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning has already projected another $10 million on account of labor for the issuance of work permits. Protem is not only that we are collecting the revenue, but we are also giving incentive to the ministry. So it's like we're telling them collect the money, but when you collect it, you get a percentage for collecting it. So it's a beneficial thing until we can take that decisive decision. We say we'll not collect 10 million this coming budget year on account of providing those jobs that our people have the skills to do in the labor sector. We have to be decisive because we are now enabling them to collect, and not only collecting, but putting in the budget law a percentage that goes to them directly to empower them. They call that revenue enhancement, to empower them to collect. So they are not going to leave it because they are getting something from there as to their own motivation, and they're also going to disenfranchise those of our workers or citizens that have skills to do those work. So it's about now that we begin to take steps and Plenary give a correct mandate to the Ways and Means Committee in preparation of the 2026 budget, so that we work with finance and say, look, this is what we have done to get our people to get those jobs that they are able to do. So if your revenue that you projected is $10 million, and because we have to protect our international protocols and whatever, we're going to do half. It means that half of the work permit will now be given to, Liberians that have skills. So that's the way to approach it.
So the labor minister was meeting the target without telling you Ways, Means and Finance that they're compromising the jobs for Liberians. So we didn't know that they were giving work permit to Stonewall, but they were just meeting the target.
Yes.
Okay, so our oversight has made us to find out that Liberian positions are compromised.
Yes.
So that you streamline the list that you have and remove those positions.
That's it.
Make instruction that moving forward, those positions should not be compromised for Liberians. So we don't need all these arguments. We have a 10,000 list. We give the instruction that jobs for Liberians should not be given work permit. We streamline. If we have to keep all of the system to find those jobs and you say that don't do it, then we stick to what they can pay. So that's the decision we expect the Senate to make. But in the meantime, we're paying from 1% at Topo.
That's it. That's it.
I suppose in theory, what is being called the representation policy that don't have put a year because we have done the decent work. You pass the decent work out, and I'm saying something in 45.1, which does not talk about representation. It's politically telling us that any employment, there's no employment set aside. I get it clear. So I listen to people about liberalization policy. I think about those days in kind of the decent work the decent work act is clear 45.1 that any employment before it's given to a foreigner, it will be determined that there is no Liberian qualified. So be clear with us. Then those specific So you cannot come and say, let's say 5,000 gold. No. So clear, you see, any employment. The second one, we really want that again. Yeah. It also said that we should only award employment to a foreigner who country reciprocate to us. That's a lot about here before we came here. And I think to put that on. I'm bringing it to your attention because it means that we cannot move this individually. It's not rolling. We have to address it together. It's not just about calling the labor minister and giving an instruction. Because you are giving a concession out there in your MDA, there are contents in there. And just calling the labor minister to give it a mandate, then you have forgotten that indeed you have an MDA. It's a time frame for your MDA. So the National Bureau of Concession, the NRC, and the Labor Ministry, including the immigration, because labor permit should not be issued before resident permit. And there will be a contradiction in those things. So we have to take it holistically and address it. That's my point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sarah Pani, followed by Sarah Bill.
Are you? The arguments were made.
Yeah. All right. Sarah Bill.
Thank you, Jim.
Followed by Sarah Bill.
Thank you, the table politicians. The issue about is very serious. I want to say thank you to the former Minister of Labour, the Honorable Mongo, who felt that a great jobs had been taken away and he needed to make increment into the price of work permit. I want us as senators to encourage our Labour Minister and insert into the coming budget that work permit should be increased from 1,000 to 5,000 times. Let's make at least 500% increment to our work permit. Yeah. That will serve as to discourage him. We can tell the Labour Minister, look, Mr. Minister, in this budget we want 20 million. He will even get 500% work permit and he can pay back 20 million. It will make an increment to the work permit. The Lebanese will not leave from here and go and bring Indian as snowballs. They will look for Liberians who can do the job. So it is not because of the quota they with the Labour Ministry that's why we have more alien working low. It's because the cost is too low. There will be an increment into the cost of work permit in this country. That will say as a deterrent. Because if you pay $5 to bring one person here to be snowball, you rather do the Liberians. So, Chairman on Labour, they encourage our Labour Minister to make increment into the work permit. If we can make a 100%, that will be 200% increment. So I want us not to talk about.
Go ahead.
Okay, so to conclude, I want us to make a big jump into the increment of work permit that will make foreigners not to want to you open it at Ghana. So even sell in the market is very difficult.
Oh, that's true.
Because they protecting the work for their people.
Where do you get it?
We protect our own work here. So it's not really the same thing. Yeah, the law of reciprocity is a good law.
So you can conclude a statement.
So let me implement into the web bill as of it.
Thank you, Senator. So we're all after the new point.
Thank you, Madam Podium and colleagues. So much has been said regarding this matter. I just want to add a little bit that when the minister came here and told us that he inherited these conditions, the minister did not say that he does not have the judicial responsibility to change them or to correct them if they were not in line with the labor law. These permits are renewed every year. And so upon receiving knowledge that these things were not done correctly, you have changed them. Now, the point with respect to the collection of monies to be with budgetary allocation or request, for me is mute. Because if you don't issue permit, we don't expect you to pay that money. It's a simple thing. The reason why we are putting these things in the law is to create jobs for our people. I heard Roger too say there are concessions that we signed and we put conditions in there. In those very concessions, the condition states, some of them, states that there will be knowledge transfer after a certain period of time. So that is also geared towards creating jobs for our people. There is something called the Local Content Act that says only Liberians who are not capable of a certain profession that you can import somebody to do that job. If you can have that person in Liberia, they must be sourced locally. And in fact, before you even advertise the job, it must be done locally. So these conditions and conditionalities simply says that we need to give our people jobs. The idea of not collecting the money is inconsequential at this point. So let's give our people the job. If we don't collect money from the Labor Ministry, we will not have. Thank you, brother.
Very articulate.
Followed by Senator Tiger.
Thank you, Lord, for that. Thank you.
Got alien working for him.
And sometimes I feel like not making a contribution on ground that these kinds of conversations, in my mind, expose the weaknesses or some weaknesses in the governing structure of the republic. The chair of the Ways and Means elucidated that the ministry was given an incentive enhancement quota in the budget for the funds generated through the issuance of work permits. And that was introduced at the level of the legislature. Enshrined in the Budget Act that you go collect money, whatever money you collect, pay 5%. You go after more people and collect more work permits. We ensure that was kept in the Budget Act. And if, like Senator Brown said, we didn't capture at the time that maybe legislating such a law will compromise the very law that guarantees employment. And we have not realized that whatever happened in terms of the issuance of work permit, quote unquote, generating revenue by the generation of revenue by the the Labor Ministry compromise employment for Liberians. Then, as the Protest rightly said, this is a time for us to right the wrong, to do the right thing.
Right.
And that's why I feel that since we have the report, let's review the report, like the Senator for Kimo says at the Gala. Let's review the report, identify the categories of jobs that are to be set aside for Liberians. And we take the decision as a government and move on. But the more we debate these issues, or sometimes we try to attribute it to one person, then that's where we feel that it's not being debated the right way. And I think it's important for the Protest to take charge. As she rightly said, let's start anew. We all have realized that things have been done wrongly. And we cannot attribute that only to the Labor Ministry. We do have a part to play because we approved a budget with $8 billion in it for the ministry to go and issue work permit to collect that money so that that money can be used to pay salaries. We use that money to pay salaries. We use that money to build roads, to build schools, clinics, hospitals. So the fact that we now realize that that is affecting the aspect of job creation, let's do the right thing. I support the call for the committee to review, do a comprehensive review of the list in terms of what permits issued by categories, and those be discussed, a decision be taken as to what category of jobs, what permit should be issued, and what category of what permit should be issued. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Brooklyn. Senator Tyler, followed by Senator Finney.
Pro Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I think I would love to have, let me say, that like the rally said, Pro Chairman, we seem to be going outside and the issue raised by Senator Taylor is basically, or the request is basically, we want to know employment, the categories of employment, on the basis of which we can make decisions. Nobody is shying from the fact that we are not partly responsible. That's why the argument here. That's why we try to correct. I heard some of my colleagues say there's a correlation between the work permits, the collection of work permit fees, and the revenue to support the budget. But I do believe it is a fact that if you were to employ Liberians, 10,000 Liberians, you can generate more than $10 billion a year to support the budget. So that argument for me is both. Unless on Bobani you say you're not anyway. So if you employ Liberians, you still generate that same revenue to support the budget. So the argument cannot be only work permits leave. The work permits leave, no. So let us take a decision as a Senate to review, like my colleague says, and then the way entirety is entirety. Let us review it and be clear as to the way we proceed. Look at the laws and everything in totality. They didn't say certain jobs are set aside for Liberians. They say jobs of which there are no Liberians before you bring in foreigners. So if you take that into consideration and employ the Liberians that are employable, you're going to generate more than that. And that would be sufficient to stand or support the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Tyler. Why conference? Thank you, Senator Tyler. Senator Finney.
Thank you, Madam President, distinguished colleagues. This matter, I think for me, there are protocols, there are laws. We're part of ECOWAS. Movement of free goods and services. The president just sent a document for that we have to ratify. We ratify a document for free movement in ECOWAS community. Our colleague from River G mentioned a decent work bill. My chairman addressed the issue of revenue. We don't want Liberians to be denied jobs. We all here are politicians and all want our people to have work. There are certain sectors in our society that basically must function. When it comes to the budget, we have certain agencies that fall in certain categories. The social category, where you have the Ministry of Gender, Social Welfare, Health. We also have the economic agencies. That's a minor thing. We can decide to move, we have the authority to move the Ministry of Labor from the economic sector to the social sector. We also have the authority to say to the minister, keep the 7,000 or $10 million from the 7,000, which means you divide 10 million by 7,000, that way each person will pay. That's a solution. Simple solution that we can come up with. Madam Pro Tem, distinguished colleagues, this is a very, very sensitive issue. And I think we need to look at it. I think we all need to basically take a very serious look, because it borders on the economy and the growth of our country and the development of our country. And so I listen to all sides of the debate, but I want to believe, Madam Pro Tem, that for us to move this process forward, we've heard from every angle. And we have to take the laws that we have on the books into consideration. We have to take our international treaties into consideration. And the solution is simple. Okay. The Africa Free Trade Agreement. One. The Africa Free Trade Agreement calls for movement of goods and service free. Service, meaning a Liberian can go to Ethiopia and get a job. No. That's the Africa Free Trade Agreement. I signed it as foreign minister. Liberia, and India ratified. Senator General, you ratified. The African legislature for ratification.
I protect the speaker about that because you know how qualified I
am. I'm not justifying whether they are Liberians or non-Liberians. I'm saying that we are part of the treaty. The ECOWAS treaty that we are part of. Senator Stowe, Senator Tyler knows fully well that the movement of services and goods, yes, we collect money for ECOWAS in our budget. How to approach this matter. We want jobs for Liberians. No if anybody. The 10,000 jobs, we want it for Liberians. That's true.
So we invited Plenary, cited the Minister of Labor. The last time was here. category. Plenary requested I send a list of categories. Government, we comply. Now we are going through that list. I will listen to all the arguments. I share the view of the protest, the Dava, the others have said that now we look at the list. So I suggest we mandate the Committee on Labor to look at that list, come back to us with all the categories that we think that we must and should, must occupy. That is, all the concession agreements, look at all the other works, we are looking at all other laws pertaining to how to make that decision. They will invite the minister to have a discussion before we make the necessary recommendations for the executive. But I will say, let also. I made a statement before when the argument, the debate for the decision was asked. It's an popular argument, but I'm under obligation to say it. Let us talk about it. So I just want to reflect why we have a qualified mechanic, very qualified, and go out there and bring a mechanic which will pay 10 times what he pays outside and pay his way to come. Wow. You want to waste money? No. There's a reason.